Sea healing, the voice, the ocean, and the medicine. Today, we are going to journey to the sea, not only as a place of beauty and mystery, but really as a sacred source of healing, nourishment, and ancestral memory. Beneath the waves lies a medicine chest of minerals, gifts from the sea that do more than support the body. They awaken the voice, soothe the nervous system, balance the hormones, and help us to reconnect to parts of ourselves that we lost. The ocean has long been more than a food for source. It is in many cultures and across the world, she has been a teacher, a healer, and even a keeper of stories. Within the depths lies truths too sacred to be forgotten, truths passed down through things like sounds and vibrations, even with music and rituals and myths. One such myth is Mami Wata, a water spirit known in throughout Africa and Africa diaspora. She's not just a mermaid, she's a mystery, transformation, and deep feminine form of representation of wisdom. It is said that Mami Wata rises from the sea with her flowing hair, her shimmering skin, and eyes that see into your soul. She appears to women in their dreams, even to sailors on the water, and children sitting quietly by the shore. Ah, she is beautiful and powerful. She is a healer and a protector. She is a seductress and a guide. To meet her is to meet parts of yourself you've forgotten. The parts that feel, the parts that sing, and the parts that just dream and create. One story tells a woman who had a silent voice who came to the sea in sorrow with tears and crying. And she was a woman who had forgotten her joy and her truth and even her sacred rhythm. She got lost. She got stuck. She wept and wept into the waves, and her voice barely could whisper inside her body. And Mami Wata rose. She did not speak, but she simply placed a spiraled shell in the woman's hand. And when the woman pressed the shell to her ear, she heard the echo of her own breath, strong, steady, wise. She remembered that her voice had never left. It only had been waiting for her to listen. So you see, many of us know that type of silence. We've been taught to hold our truth in, to mute our needs, to hide our voice because it was safe or accepted. Over time, the silencing does take a toll, not only on our spirit, but on our health. One of the most common ways unresolved trauma shows up is in the throat. In energy medicine, this is governed by what we know of as the throat chakra, the center of communication and self-expression and identity. And in the physical body, it housed the thyroid gland, which is a beautiful butterfly-shaped gland that really regulates things like our metabolism, our hormones, and our emotional stability. The thyroid is governed by and needs an essential mineral, and it's called iodine. We are deficient in iodine. And we know this because we might feel tired, foggy, anxious, or even depressed. We may experience things like weight fluctuations and hair loss and irregular cycles and fertility issues, and the list goes on and on. But on a deeper level, iodine deficiency can really reflect something spiritual, something like our lost rhythm, that buried voice, our unspoken pain. One trauma response, especially tied to the throat, is the fawn response, a lesser known reaction in the fight, flight, freeze, fawn spectrum. Fawning is a survival pattern of appeasement. always saying yes, always being agreeable, suppressing your own needs to avoid things like conflict and rejection. Fawning is not a weakness, it is a trauma adaptation. Let me say that again. Fawning is not a weakness, it is a trauma adaptation. Many people, especially women and those raised in emotionally unsafe environments, learn early that silence equals safety. But over time, this chronic self-abandonment affects the body and it blocks the voice. It fractures identity and often shows up as thyroid imbalances, digestive issues, autoimmune flares, and chronic fatigue. But the body remembers how to heal, and the ocean offers us tool for that type of restoration. Three gifts the ocean gives us: kelp, sea moss, and iodine, carrying both physical and spiritual healing properties. Kelp, a brown seaweed found along the coastlines of Iceland and Korea, and even in the Pacific Northwest. And is an abundance in iodine, magnesium, iron, and even other trace minerals. It supports things like our metabolism, our detoxification, our hormone balance, and even emotional grounding. Kelp can be consumed in flake form as noodles or infused in broths or kind of mixture into things like kombucha. When choosing kelp, it's important to seek out our wild harvest organic varieties from clean waters because we really want to reduce the risk of heavy metal exposures. Then there's sea moss called Irish moss, a red algae that grows in the cold Atlantic waters near Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Ireland. Reverend in traditional medicine, it really contains about 92 of the 102 minerals that the human body needs. That's pretty exceptional. Sea moss is particularly nourishing for the gut lining, immune system, skin, and thyroid function. It is also soothing to the nervous system, making it a powerful ally for those recovering from things like chronic stress and trauma. Sea moss can be consumed in our gel form. It can be blended in smoothies. It can be placed in teas. It can even be applied to the skin as a mask. But when buying sea moss, look for wild-crafted varieties that carry the scent and the smell of the ocean and natural color variations. Avoid pool-grown sea moss because that really lacks the mineral richness of the ocean harvest plants. At the heart of both kelp and sea moss is iodine. The trace minerals really affect cells in the body, yet is mostly concentrated in the thyroid. So for those kind of healing from emotional trauma or things like chronic stress or ancestral wounds, we really need to think about iodine is often depleted. We really need to kind of think about ways to replenish iodine in the body. And we do more than restoring metabolic health. We can begin by reclaiming our voice, our vitality, and our right to be seen and to be heard. This is where food becomes more than nourishment. It is a ritual. It becomes memory. It becomes medicine, not just for the physical body, but the emotional, energetic, and ancestral bodies as well. Healing the thyroid is not simply a matter of science, it's a spiritual act. It is a rhythm we are invited to return to. It is a sacred remembering. When we nourish ourselves with minerals from the sea, we are really feeding the voice we once silenced. We are honoring the parts of ourselves that we were told to stay small. Small. We are softening the places in our body that once held things like fear, but instead we're making room for power, pleasure, and purpose. Each time you sip a sea moss tea or season your food with some kelp, know that you are practicing reclamation. Each act of nourishment becomes a whisper to the nervous system. I am safe now. I am allowed to speak. My needs matter. I take up space with grace. Let the minerals of the ocean soften what's been frozen. Let the sacred iodine awaken your inner rhythm. Let the story of Mami Wata remind you that your voice is not too much. It is your medicine. It is the bridge between silence and freedom. Your healing is not just about eating better. It is about speaking truthfully. It is about breaking cycles, and it is about remembering who you were before the world taught you to shrink. This is more than nutrition. This is more than spiritual restoration. This is V for victims, and this is the octaves method. If this message really resonated with you, it touched something deep within you, if you're beginning to remember your voice, your power, and your need for healing, I invite you to take the next step. Like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and follow me on social media at holisticclinician for more reflections and rituals and resources really rooted in healing, nourishment, and the truth. And if this message resonates with your, let's say, your current journey, whether you're navigating things like trauma or anxiety, depression, or seeking a deeper emotional balance, or simply curious about integrating psychotherapy and hypnotherapy and wellness coaching, I offer free 15-minute consultations to explore if we're a good fit. You don't have to walk the path alone. Together, we can nourish the body, restore your voice, and awaken the spirit. This is your time. This is your healing. And I am here to walk beside you. And I'd like to share just a simple breath this morning, which is a beautiful coconut yogurt with some blueberries, some hemp seeds. I always add something green, you can see, and I have a little bit of cinnamon, so we can stir this up. And this is how great we can use in terms of some of the products. So my first product is Dulse. That's kind of what it looks like. So I wanted to share that. And then I have something called sea lettuce. Look how beautiful that is and how green. Oh, so gorgeous. Oh, smells so good. And it does smell like the ocean. That's what I love. And then I have some nori flakes here. People are a lot more familiar with nori flakes. Here. Another thing you can consider, there's two varieties of dulse here. This is dulse granulates, and it says an excellent source of iodine, and it's organic. So if I'm out shopping and I don't have some of my other products, this is traditionally in most health food stores and accessible. And then there are kind of roasted seaweeds, just making for sure that they are organic. So you also may want to read the ingredients on the back of these. These are really good to use and can be added in soups or creams, even salad dressings. I've done that. And here's just another brand. You'll see I'll be making a salad dressing later on. And then this is one of my newest brands that I love. And so this is what I'm just going to add to this really good protein rich. You don't need a lot. With iodine, you just need a healthy source. So I'm really just going to add a handful of that in there and stir it in. And what a healthy breakfast on the go, packed with nutrients. I have my iodine added. I'll probably have a little bit more iodine for lunch so that I can have what is recommended. What a beautiful way to go. Happy eating.